Hey everyone, in this video I'm gonna very quickly go over all the tank related changes in the 4th week of Necrom PTS. Starting off with the Arcanist changes. The Psychic Lesion passive from the Herald of the Tome skill line now grants 75% increased chance to proc status effects, on top of the 15% damage increase for status effects. In my opinion, it's not that relevant for a tank, as you don't really care about shield and concussion status effects, because you're already providing minor brittle and minor vulnerability with your Rune of the Colorless pool. It might be good for proccing Sundered in order to provide minor breach in fights where enemies don't attack you frequently enough to proc minor breach off of Fate Woven armor. But you'd have to fit in Herald of the Tome ability on your front bar for it to work. The Imperfect Ring's cost is now based off of your lowest maximum resource, rather than highest. It's a great change because now it will cost Magicka rather than stamina, and with most of our skills costing Magicka we can fully commit to Magicka cost reduction enchants, rather than tri-cost reduction. Runic Jolt, the taunt ability, had its range increased from 15 meters to 22 meters. It's a weird change in my opinion, which wasn't really needed. It might remove the need for bringing additional range taunt for some encounters, but Destructive Clench isn't something you'd really want to give up anyway because of its major aim. So even if you aren't going to need a 28 meter taunt like Destructive Clench, you'll still want to use it to reduce enemies' damage done. Vitalizing Glyphic's ultimate, weapon and spell damage bonus now affects up to 12 targets, rather than 6. I honestly didn't even know that was a thing. This ultimate wasn't worth using anyway, due to the ridiculously low amount of weapon and spell damage it provides. It's straight up less than Warhorn and it also lasts a shorter duration. Glyphic of the Tides morph now grants major protection to all 12 players, when fully healed, which reduces your damage taken by 10%. Tanks already have access to that buff, through Revealing Flare, but it could be useful for damage dealers and healers. It's definitely not going to be a stronger defensive ultimate than Barrier or Gibbering Shield, but maybe it could be used in combination with these two. Now moving on to item changes. The Esoteric environment Greaves Mythic has been gutted into uselessness. I agree that the previous iteration was completely overpowered and should not have gone live, but what we have now is a completely dead Mythic, and I can't think of even some niche use case for it. It now only reduces damage taken from direct damage, rather than all damage types. There is also other changes like making it activate only above 50% stamina, reducing the amount of stamina it drains, and allowing it to drain stamina once every quarter of a second, rather than once every half a second. But the damage type change is the most important one. The reason it's so useless right now is it's just another layer of blocking that's active at all times, and it's just not needed. We can bump up our block mitigation to 90%, which makes pretty much any direct damage trivial to deal with, and really the only difficult damage to deal with right now is damage over time. This Mythic is just another layer of defense against a damage type that's already easy to deal with. Meanwhile, the only realistic way to mitigate dots is being a Necromancer, which forces a meta where if you don't want to have a really difficult time in Rogrove or Dreadseal Reef, you'll have to bring a Necromancer tank. And please don't comment saying you did it on X class, because I know you can do it on every class. Dreadseal has been out for a year. But you wouldn't recommend anyone to start progging it on anything other than a combination of Necromancer and Dragonite, because all other options are just much harder. If Zos really wants this Mythic to only work against one damage type, it should be damage over time, because we already have enough tools for dealing with direct damage. And now we're back to having no useful defensive Mythics for a tank. And last thing for today, the Test of Resolve set has been slightly buffed. The cooldown has been reduced to 45 seconds, down from 1 minute, and it now procs when you fall below 50% HP, rather than 35%. But all of this changes nothing about this set being useless. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.